Apex Online Racing is sponsored by Elgato, who created this lovely Stream Deck. For more information about the Stream Deck, the link is in the description below.
Hello and welcome everyone to Apex Online Racing Hype Energy Formula 1 League PC F1. I'm here today, Fizzymon, once again after missing last week, and alongside me is a very special guest. You might recognize him. It's King Kodiak.
Bright sun and burning hot as our competitors head to the track, or a number of them have done. Let's see who's gone out there. Norbert is out there. Fernandez. Apologies if I'm not getting these names right. Tisu, we'll go with. By Blue, Red Tox, Krunex, Korsak, Dictator, because we can't pronounce your name correctly, and Johan, all out on track.
Yes, a lot of drivers getting on track early. Now, one thing I saw from how these drivers practice is that they only really have time for 3 runs because of how slow that Silverstone pit lane is. So it's definitely smart to get out on track early and get a lap in because they don't have too much time, even though 18 minutes seems like a long amount of time. But a quick little thing before these drivers really start getting into the meat of qualifying. We're going to go ahead and take a little blast to the past from about 2 weeks ago. We are on the stream was Austria. Now, last week, the drivers raced at Suzuka. However, there was no main broadcast, and I do apologize for that. But to rehash on what happened that race, which was also broadcasted by the drivers themselves, as seen on the AOR Twitter, turns out Norbert Jacob, who is he racing today? I do not see him. Oh, yes, he is actually P1 in the Mercedes right now. He is a reserve driver, and he came in for Suzuka and came out in a dominant fashion and won the race by several seconds over Lenny PNR. Lenny dominated Austria, as we remember, but it looks like Norbert was able to come in and give the hammer right back to him, came back swinging. In P3, rounding out the podium was Christian Sendel, who had a much better race than what we saw in Austria. He was able to keep it penalty-free for the most part, and as a result, he was able to pull away with the front 2 up ahead, clear some traffic, and get a podium. A couple other position changers, Brownie, who had a pretty bad Austria race, I must say. I mean, he definitely wasn't too happy about it. Came home in P4 at Suzuka, and he's looking to carry this momentum through here into Silverstone as well. P5 was F1 Racer, who we do not have today. He drives in the other Mercedes. He had a pretty good race, but of course he will not be able to carry his momentum. A few other things to note. One driver who we saw have a good Austria was Korsak. Now, Korsak was having a very good Suzuka, but he took wing damage about halfway through the race once he pitted onto the medium tire, as it was a dry race. He took wing damage and then decided to retire the car as it cost him too much time as a result. So that's kind of a little bit of a summary of what happened from that race. Right now, our championship leader is Lenny PNR with a 18-point gap, but it's only been 2 races so far, so we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Yep, absolutely. Norbert is the first to get a time on the board at 23.9 on the soft tyres. Time starting to roll in. By Blue at 24.2. Fernandez at 24.3. Red Toss 24.4. Well, fairly equally distant. The 2 racing points, 4th and 5th, Red Toss and Korsak, 24.4, 24.5 respectively. And at Krunex in 6th with a 24.9. Someone has just jumped in there. Brownie into 4th in the McLaren with a 24.3. I'm expecting this group to bunch up quite heavily. Silverstone's one of these tracks that once you get into the rhythm of it, you really can find a lot of time out there. So very much looking forward to seeing what these guys can do, particularly the second McLaren. Jan Fader is definitely a man I've commentated on before in the past and is the coordinator for the F1 side here at AOR. So looking forward to seeing what he can do. Chris Sindel has just jumped up to second at 24.0. So yeah, the times are fairly close together as I would expect. Plenty of time for that to change. Oh, new pulses in the form of Lenny Pienaar, 23.6. That's a bit closer to what we can expect to see from the overall time.
Yes, I do agree on that. That's for sure. From what I saw, I believe they did a esports race for the Challenger Series a few weeks ago around here, and I'm pretty sure I saw the likes of Jan Fader, Norbert Jacob definitely dip their toes into the 23s by a margin. So I do expect to see these guys definitely farther up, considering that was, I believe, one-shot qualifying around this track. So I do expect to see that 23.6 might not be the fastest that these guys can do, as that's a really, really good banker lap. Probably one of the better ones I've seen around the track, to be honest.
Absolutely. As I'm watching Jan Fader, who's purple in sector 1, working his way through the Mackens and Beckett's complex now. It's coming out of Chapel onto the Hangar Straight, and that's looking purple for sector 2 as well. So Jan is looking towards the top end of the field, through Stowe, heading towards Vale, and now towards Club. But here, the first of his flying laps, heavy on the brakes at 100 mid. But now he's been locking up in quite a few places, so I'd imagine there will still be time out there for him to find in the McLaren. What does Jan do? That is second, although 23.9.
Yeah, not a bad lap, but like you said, if he's locking up a lot, there's definitely a lot more time on that lap. So Jan Fader definitely looking like he wants to get a podium. I mean, we saw him get a podium in race 1, but in race 2, he had a lot of tire wear issues, which is what he reported and his teammate Brownie did. And as a result, it really compromised his overall race. So hopefully he got that fixed for this race, and we can see him battling back up towards the front. But still, 3/10 to Lenny Pienaar after the first set of runs. I mean, yeah, like I said, banker laps. But do you think that Lenny's just going to run away with this, or do we think there's an answer by some of the guys behind him?
A little early to say, as Lenny gets a 23.6 on the board. Well, we can see, but we will see what everybody else has to say. Yeah, a little too early to say. It also depends on what the weather is going to be come race time. Britain is not known for having very predictable weather. I was there in 2018. I got absolutely burnt to a crisp. The horrendous heat wave we were having at the time. But generally, we have very wet and horrid summers. So yeah, we will see. It's going to be down to what the weather gods have decided for race time.
Yeah, I was actually talking to, I'm American, so I don't exactly have any experience being across the sea. But I was talking to someone who's been there his whole life, and he was saying that sunny skies is about 5 days a year. So I guess we got one of those 5 days here today in qualifying, but the race may be completely different. So we'll have to wait and see. But I hope for their sake it's a dry race, because a wet race around here definitely throws a curveball into things, that's for sure.
Somewhat, I think it's fair to say. So many
Yeah.
people come back into the pits. So now quite a number of people now back out on track. Yet to see a time from Soulflies, Dictator, and Johan at the moment. Although Johan and Dictator both out there on hot laps at the moment. The house just coming out of Aintree onto the Wellington Straight. Where is Soulflies? He's on an outlap. Dictator with a 25.6 on the board. I think it's fair to say that there's improvement to be found. And wow, Lenny hasn't hung around too long in the pits. He's come back out on another set of softs. I'm guessing that's what he's on at the minute. Yep. Everyone is using only these soft tires. Oh, that was the second Haas getting out of Johan's way. There'll be Regaz currently in 11th with a 24.4. Some support in the chat I see from Lenny, By Blue, and Johan. Fair play there. Johan just coming on to purple in sector 2 for the Haas. As he's come onto the Hangar Straight, what can he do? He's got a lot of traffic ahead of him though. Let's see. That's one of the Force India. I knew I'd do that. Always do that, even though they've been called Racing Points. I don't know how long. I still call them Force Indias. Apologies. out of the penultimate corner now through club. What does Johan get on the board? It is 9th with a 24.3. Wow, very close. Was it 9 thousandths off the back of Patrick there in 8th place? Yeah, so there's still time out there to find most people coming back out on track. So now just over 8 minutes to go.
Yeah, well, a couple things I noticed on that lap is when he finished the sector 2, I think our mini map's a little glitch because he did a 101.2 when he was at the marker, and Failer had a 101.0. So that was, I don't know if he was just had a horrible first sector, but his third sector also looked a little choppy because that racing point, as you mentioned, was kind of in the way, but he did get out at the last second, so it wasn't too big of a deal. But that might have offset him a little bit, you know, so he might have a little bit more time overall in that lap. But you're going to have to, you don't want to get too comfortable saying racing point because next game we're going to be having to say Aston Martin. So, yeah.
The green, so it's a bit of a clue that they're not the same team at least.
That is true. I mean, that shouldn't be too bad, and same with Renault going to Alpine, different colors. So hopefully, knock on wood, because, you know, everyone makes mistakes, right?
You got it. So then Lenny leading the way still. Jan Fader in second, 3 tenths behind. And Norbert in third. Most people are either out well, most people except for Dictator actually are on track. So 18 of the 90 cars out there. Lenny has picked a great spot, a great time, I should say, to come out on track. He's got no one immediately ahead of him, flying through cops, heading down towards Maggots and Beckett in the Renault. How is this one going to stack up to his previous lap? We will see as he works his way. Wow, chucks it through. Beckett's on coming through Chapel. DRS open on to the Hangar Straight. There's a Williams further up the road, but not close enough to influence his lap. Into Stowe. Is he going to see this one through? Yes, he is going to. So down towards Vale. Bit of a lock up there. Shouldn't hinder him too much. ERS is over half used, so he's very much utilised that, but no improvement on his time. No, purple sector 3, but no improvement overall. Norbert has jumped up into second whilst that was going on with a 23.802, but still great benchmark there from the Renault of Lenny.
Yeah, he was actually a 10.5 down at the end of sector 2, and he found a whole 10th in the final sector. So if he can kind of just match the sector 2 that he did previously, because I believe, if I recall, his sector 1 was almost identical. So if he can just kind of match that second sector that he did previously and then just redo that third sector, he's definitely got at least a 10th to get on that lap. So, but yeah, he had I mean, still, even though he was a 10.5 down, he was a 1 minute 0.9. So a 10th faster than the likes of Jan Failer, Norbert Jacob through it. So he must be doing something right around the track right now because he's still got a 10.5 clear above everyone else with 5:30 to go. So enough time for everyone to do one more run. But there's still a lot to play for. I mean, we got, what, a half second? If you take away Lenny, you got a half second from second all the way down to 12th, which is mighty impressive so far.
Improvement from Jacob, as just riding on board for the end of his time lap. Puts him up to 7th place at 24.145. That's 4 drivers in the 24.1s. Highlighting exactly what you were just saying. Very, very close in that, well, throughout the field, really, with that midfield pack. Very close indeed. Anyone else out there on a hot lap? What is Dictator doing? He's started his hot lap because he's only got that 25.6 on the board that you said a little while ago. He's coming through the loop and into Aintree now with a very empty track around him, but we'll be heading towards what I refer to as the Banzai phase, the last 3 minutes where everyone is strapped on a fresh pair of boots and just gives it all, you know, leaves nothing on the table, and it's very much do or die, all or nothing at that stage. You either get an absolute cracking lap or you end up in the wall. I usually end up in the latter, so that's why I'm in the commentary box and not out there on field. Tisu and Krunex both have got to the same thousandths of a second. Their lap time the same, 1:24.956. So I mean they're half a second off the rest of the field. But yeah, again, as you said earlier, the whole field, even including Lenny's time, that's 0.8 of a second, first to 16th. So,
yep,
that's incredible.
Yeah, I was about to point that out, but then you just stole it there. But yeah, it's first to 16th, 0.8. But then if you look at it, 4th through 16th is only 4/10, so the top end of it definitely a little quicker, but everything else after that, one mistake wrong will drop you down several positions today, not just one. So I'm looking forward to see what they have as Dictator returns back into the pits. He will definitely have enough time to do one more run as everyone begins to start their bonsai phase. I get it right? Of the session?
Yeah, bonsai phase, yeah.
I like
Red
that.
Tox is out, yeah, use it. Well, you're welcome. Red Tox is out there. He's just coming through to the end of Sector 2. He's just come on to the hangar straight. He's on a time lap. He is catching one of the Williams, but not close enough for me to identify which. He currently sits in 16th with a 24.438. Again, 4 drivers in the 24.4s, and that is straight back into the pits, unfortunately.
Yeah, he invalidated there on the exit of Stowe. He was actually a 10th.5 up, which would have skyrocketed him up the board since he's just so close. He probably would have put himself in the top 10, but he's just got barely enough time to do one more run, thankfully for him. Both the Williams on track right now of Deds and Fernandez, the 2 Brazilian drivers competing over in F1. It's great to have them here joining the ranks. So curious to see what they can do. I've seen some footage of them because with me having my contacts in America and such, I've seen them have some really good races around this track. So I'm curious to see what they can do today. And I'm going to work on fixing the sound settings because apparently your volume on the stream is a little low, which I believe is 100% on my end because you are pretty loud in my ear. I'm going to fix that up real fast. No worries.
Well, yeah, I don't usually get told I'm too quiet. That's a very rare thing for me. Anyone that's heard my commentary in the past will testify to that. A lot of people. So here we go. We're very much entering the Banzai phase now. So most people are out on track. Brownie is on a hot lap. Deds, VO Deds, I haven't mentioned him so far, has done his hot lap with a 24.081, slots him in 6th position in the Williams. Yes, we have heard your cries to have the sound sorted out. We will get that sorted as soon as we can. Everybody except for Red Tox out on track. So yeah, everybody is taking advantage of this last few minutes. Oh, Brownie's catching. I think it's the pair of, I can't tell if it's the Alpha Tauris or the Red Bulls. It's one of the two. He's catching up to, I think it's the Red Bulls he's catching up to. Hopefully that's not going to delay him too much because this very much is going to be his last opportunity. Oh, that was Tisu that Brownie nearly slammed into the back of. Goodness me, and that's put him completely off and over the grass. Invalid lap for Brownie. He has not got the fuel to do that again, so that is his day done. He may well feel aggrieved by that. Norbert is out there on a hot lap as well. Has just begun his last run. Failer as well, 2nd and 3rd on their hot laps. And Lenny is out there. Where is Lenny? He is on the hangar straight, ready to start his final lap as well. So lots of people on their final time laps. And should see the field condense that a little bit further. Where's Dictator? He is on Wellington Straight, so he's it's only actually 4 people that are out that aren't on time lap. Just like yeah, Brownie brought his car in. That's why he's in the pit after invalidating his final run. 10 seconds until the checkered flag falls. Where is Lenny? Yes, he's just beaten the flag. So here we go, and Brownie has retired from the session. Not surprising. Checker flag is out. It is now do or die for our driver.
Yes, I'm currently fixing the audio. I had to turn up the gain to 400%. Hopefully that fixes it. I'll make sure to turn my volume down as well. I wasn't able to really pay attention to what was going on track, so you might have to keep it up for me because I'm kind of a little lost.
No worries. No worries. I'll keep it going. So Fernandez has retired from the session. 24.024 is his time. Corsac has gone up to 3rd, the 23.941. Norbert has the new pole time for the Mercedes with a 23.618 by 300ths of a second as the Mercedes taken that pole time. What can Lenny do about that one? There's a Ferrari, I think it was Maestro Hoffi that's pulled over. One of the Ferrari tires, or one of the Racing Points is completely off the road. I didn't identify which one that was. It's purple sector 2 for the Renault. Can he complete this one? Down towards Stowe. Chucks it in, hopes it sticks. Keeps it nice and steady over halfway across the rumble strip on the exit. That's absolutely fine. Jan Fehler was improved in time but not position at 23.739 for the McLaren. What can Lenny do over the line? And it's a 23.468. So by a tenth and a half again, Lenny has taken that top spot. My word, that's an absolute stormer.
That was an absolute insane lap by Lenny there. He was over a tenth up at the end of Sector 2, so apparently he found more time rather than losing some, and then was able to find another half a tenth in the final sector. An absolutely amazing job by Lenny there. The Frenchman retaking pole position by a margin, like you said. Norbert Jacob trying so hard and getting really close to beating him for a time there, but unable to secure it. Jan Fehler finishing P3, Kodiak 4th, Christian Sendel in P5. And we'll go over the rest of the standings once we get to the final leaderboard for the session. But a very tight-knit field. Look at that, a 10th from 6th all the way down to, what was that, 10th or 11th, and then another 10th down to like 15th or 16th, if I'm correct. So that is
right, yeah. That was unbelievable. And this is how close it is in the top tier here in AOR. So there it is. Do you want me to run through it, or do you want to go through it?
By all means, might as well carry it on. Go through it for us.
So Lenny and Norbert take on row 1 as Jan Fehler and Kodiak row 2, Christian Sindel and Patrick row 3, Fernandez and Meister Hoffi row 4, Johan and Deads take on row 5, Brownie and Blue are in row 6, Soulflies and Kodiak row 7, Tisu and Riagas row 8, Kev Genetics, I didn't really mention him in the qualifying row alongside Red Tux row 9, and Dictator didn't really improve too much. He found a 25 flat as his final run, so he was back up the field. But what weather are we going to see this time around?
Fingers crossed dry.
Well, the dry was the one that dry, certainly. Let's have a look.
It's looking dry to me right now.
That looks pretty dry indeed. Unless the clouds are going to roll in, they have to roll in pretty hard, because that looks a pretty good sky there. So we look set for a dry race.
Yep, 2 out of 5 sunny days here. These drivers have been blessed with clear skies, no rain. So that is definitely, I'm sure all of them are very happy. So interesting to see what kind of strategies we see now. I mean, I would assume everyone outside the top 10 would go medium softs, as the mediums can go a pretty long time. But if there's any incidents early on, it was reported to me that the mediums can go from like lap 1 or 2 till the end if they have to. So if we get an early safety car, again, we'll see if someone goes mediums, who goes hards. Last time I tried to predict the strategy at Austria, it didn't go well at all, because I thought it would go one way, and this time it went another. So I'll have to wait and see now, as it's about 6 seconds till the drivers start on the formation lap and take a nice easy lap, get the tires up to temperature. Shouldn't be too much wear on the tires at the start, as during qualifying the tires really do not get too much from what I've seen. And yeah, 19 drivers on the grid, and we got the green lights are out, and they are doing the formation lap now. So how about that?
Yep. So now is when, exactly as you say, the tires get conditioned. What has everybody gone for? Let's have a look. Well, the top 10, of course, on the softs, a bit of a mixture of mediums and softs in the lower half. I'd rather expected everyone 11 downwards to be on the mediums. But Blue, Krinex, and Tisu have gone softs. Curious decision, but well, they're going to have to really get on with it in the opening part of the race. They're going to make that one work. We'll see. We've seen stranger things happen in AOR races in the past.
True.
We'll see how well they can hold out. As Lenny leading the field through Luffield. It was at Luffield where I watched the events of the British Grand Prix in 2018. That's where I was. I was glad I was actually in a grandstand. It was the only shade I could find anywhere. It was absolutely roasting hot. Got rather heavily burned, but I did get to meet quite a number of the esports drivers that weekend. I was quite pleased about, and they seemed quite happy to see me, which also helped as well.
Yeah, you got a way more extensive background than I do. I look at it and I go, man, I wish I could go to a F1 track, experience it. So I can only imagine what it was.
It was my first time. First time I'd ever gone to an event live. And it was good fun. I really did enjoy that. Just seeing the predictive pit strategy. I love the fact that he gives soft to medium, soft to hards at the same lap time crossover.
Yeah.
That's a little optimistic, I think.
Oh. Yeah, a little bit, and like the delta between the two tires is horrible. I think if you were to hit it in game, it's like 10 seconds lost.
Yeah, you're not going to see, unless anybody has to pit on lap 1, you're not going to see the hard tyres run, I would imagine.
Yeah.
As the front of the field now are taking up their grid slots. This is when the nerves begin to rise and the adrenaline really starts to pump. Do you want to take the start or shall I?
You know what? You're here, the special guest. Might as well let you do it for this week, you know? Go ahead and take it away for us, you know?
Oh, you are far too kind. Right then, the field is gathered. It is time to get the lights on. It is time to wind them up and let them. There's always a big old hold, and away we go. Who is going to be bravest on the brakes, and who is going to get? That's a stonking start from the Renault. Jan Fader on the outside coming towards turn 1. Can't quite challenge for that second position. Down towards Village for the first time in anger. Renault leads Mercedes just about. Jan Fader positioning himself for the inside at the loop. Can he get that second position from the Mercedes of Norbert? He looks set to do so, and Lenny is just dancing away as he tend to do, but no, the McLaren is still in third position. The Racing Point of Kodiak fending off Christian Sindel as well for fourth place. Through Luffield, they come for the first time. It looks like everybody has made it through okay. Just checking the back of the field. Yeah, it looks like everybody has survived. So far, so good.
Looks like some of the soft runners were able to clear out those medium runners towards the back of the field. The only medium runner in front of any soft runners is Brownie right now, who had a nice start up to P10 already. Korsak also able to hold on to P4. And for a second there, I thought Failer was going to have Norbert there, but it looks like they're just going to hold station now as the DRS train begins. Oh, we got a car off. Do you know who that is?
Tisu. Yes, Tisu with the Red Bull has had a massive incident. He's trying to recover, but he is all at sea. He's had a problem in the Maggots-Beckett's complex. Can't see any obvious. I wonder if he's disconnected. He's just reappeared. I think he's had a technical problem of some description because he looked like he was ghosted to me for a while and going very, very slowly. Now back underway. Oh, that is a shame for TC. No obvious damage to the car. We'll see if he comes in. Another problem, that's Deds and Fernandez at Williams pair are in trouble, I think, unless there's the timing board going utterly mad, which is always possible.
I think it's the timing board. Fernandez is a little farther up.
Yeah, it looks like... now that is trouble. That's one of the Ferraris that's had a bit of a spin. Oh, no, he's had a half spin. It's Krinex that's losing position. He's just lost that position to Regaz, I think that is, in the Haas. So the Ferrari wasn't sure if he got a tap there coming through Aintree. He's now trying to get on the inside of the Haas, heading through Brooklands, now into Luffield. Can't quite get it done, but it's still Lenny leading the way up front. Norbert second, and the top three beginning to spread out a little bit now. Lenny leads, Norbert 2, Jan Fader 3, Korsak 4, and Christy Sindel rounds out the top 5.
Yes, now that we're starting to separate towards the front, I'm curious to see if Lenny is burning his battery. Let's go ahead and on board with him now. He's still got almost all of his batteries, so he's not trying to run away really at this point. Using a little bit down the hanger straight now to keep ahead. But I'm curious to see now, will the drivers behind have to burn battery to stay within his DRS, or will they be able to use him to harvest battery and possibly make him move towards the end of the stint? And the question is also, or will they just wait for the pit window and just blast it for an over or undercut? A lot of stuff going on now at the end of lap 3. Lenny setting the fastest lap of the session, not surprisingly, the 127.8. Do expect the drivers to stay at the high 27s, low 28s for the majority of this first stint, and then to go even faster on the second. So a lot of action here kicking off on lap 3.
Oh, trouble! That's trouble to Village as Brownie nudges the side of Patrick. He was really doing well on the medium shot McLaren. Sadly, a little nudge coming into Village has upset the McLaren. He's now down to 13th position. Sorry to cut you off there.
No, that's fine. It's hard to see some of the action on the minimap. The field is all bunched up. Everyone within DRS range of each other outside of Tisu. So it's going to be very tricky to keep all the action, but hopefully for you viewers, we'll keep it on to it. We'll flip between the two of us on who can get the most action. But up towards the front, Norbert Jacob really closing in on Lenny. It was almost on the rear end of him, it looked like, going through cops, but he's kind of backed off a little bit, might have gone a little wide and had to lift off to avoid getting warnings. As there is the first time penalty that I've noticed of Soulflies getting a 3-second time penalty. I do expect to see a lot of time penalties today, as the track limits are very interesting. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully the race does not get decided on penalties.
It wouldn't surprise me if it were, as like you say, the track limit penalties are not kind here at Silverstone, and it is a track you really need to push on to get the most out of it. The field generally, like you say, everyone bar Tisu, of course, from that earlier problem he's had, has DRS. Just Kodiak getting the fastest lap in 4th position in the racing point as he continues to chase after Jan Vader. But that's amazing. Everybody is almost equidistant, apart from Dictators. He's starting to fall outside of DRS range, and Tisu has brought his car into the pits. I wouldn't be surprised if he just parks that one. What's he going to do in the Red Bull? Is he going to park it when he hits the stand? No. He's opting to just change to another set of soft tyres and get back underway again. Oh dear. Oh no, Dictator's lost some positions. Going very slowly again to Brooklyn, so I think he's made a mistake.
He was going side by side with Red Tox through the first sector while you were keeping an eye on the Red Bull. We were keeping an eye with Dictator. Red Tox was able to pressure him, which is why they lost DRS to begin with. And they went side by side through the first set, through Village and the Loop. And then Dictator just went a little wide and just did not get the DRS down the straight, and it cost him 2 positions and not just 1. But we'll see if Red Tox can close back in. Only 4 tenths, now 3 tenths. He's really closing back in. This, you know, the fact that a lot of these guys are all within DRS of each other really helps out the medium tire runners towards the back, and it might spell doom for the soft tire runners soon. Maybe not up towards the front, but the likes of, say, like Johan, Patrick, Blue, and Deads, they really need to gap those medium runners now, because later on in the race they're going to be flying on the soft compound of tire.
Norbert is really under the rear wing of the Renault ahead of him now with Lenny as they start lap 5, sweeping through Abbey and Farm down towards Village once again. Lenny is really under a lot of pressure now. Locks up a little bit into Village. I think the lockup is exaggerated on the spectator camera. That looked like a hell of a lot of tire smoke coming through the loop. But now onto Wellington Straight. The Renault's had a great exit from there. But Norbert's really starting to hustle the Renault. He's going to start to put pressure on for that overtake fairly soon, I would imagine. I wouldn't be surprised. Again, another lockup from Lenny, or it looked like so on my screen. It's, again, slightly unusual to lock up that heavily coming into Luffield. But we will see. But if he is locking up that badly, Norbert will be smelling blood in the water, or certainly the tyre smoke in the air, and charging off after the Renault now into. And he's not using a lot of EOS energy either. He's just kind of holding stations coming through Brooklands. Oh dear, we've got I think it's Tisu off, is it?
Yes,
yeah,
it is.
That's Tisu off again. He's ghosted again, so I think he's having technical trouble more than he's making any kind of mistake or anything like that. So yeah, trouble for the Red Bull, unfortunately. But Norbert getting very, very close to Lenny. I wouldn't be at all surprised if we start seeing a hustle for the lead very soon.
Yeah, these two are just neck and neck, not even a half a tenth between each other that whole lap. Pretty crazy stuff. Unfortunate to see Tisu having what looks like technical issues. I mean, he kind of went straight off and then spinning off turn 1, and usually that is just a sign of technical issues around the track, so unfortunate to see from him. But the field is starting to spread out now. Fernandez just dropping out of DRS range of Christensen. He's kind of been bubbling around that, but Johan 1.9 behind Fernandez. So now we're starting to see the front runners really put it into 8th gear and just start flying at the front. So, but Norbert Jacob still not really able to get close enough to Lenny. I think he's just not trying. I think he's just kind of saving that battery. See if he goes for an overcut. There's another lockup, which those lockups, you know, they don't feel too bad, but when you see them that heavily, at least when you're spectating, it's going to create a lot more tire wear than he wants, especially if he keeps doing it. So that might be huge for Norbert. If he can kind of avoid that kind of lockup, stay in DRS range, towards the end of the stint, Lenny's going to be really struggling with tire wear. So curious to see what happens as we get into the pit window in about, 3-4 laps, I say. So a lot of stuff going to happen. But right now, the top 5 really starting to blast away with Fernandez just barely hanging in there without DRS.
Yeah, absolutely. The DRS is absolutely crucial. Here is Silverstone, the Mercedes again, looking on the inside, coming towards left field, but more making himself known than positioning for a move on Lenny. And Lenny looks like he's got that all under control. There's a bit of a lock up there from one of the top 2. Jan Vader is still there lurking, only half a second behind in the McLaren with Kodiak in the racing point, and Christian Sindel rounding out the top 5, still maintaining DRS range off of everybody else. Teases in the pits again. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if he's not actually in control of that car at all. That's just the AI doing very strange things. What is Norbert going to try and make a move this time? It's very close. Lenny is lagging quite a bit, which is very disconcerting when you're racing alongside someone that is kind of reappearing in different places than when you saw them half a second beforehand. And no, still no movement from the Mercedes on the Renault. And Jan is actually looking. Jan actually has full ERS battery at this point. He's just coming. I think he's just biding his time. He's waiting for the top two to either have an incident or just to burn out their own tires or what have you. Jan is a very, very experienced racer, as you mentioned earlier. He's taken part in esports races as well, so he really knows how to get the best out of these cars. So it's all going to unfold. I think post pit stop, we'll see how well drivers continue. That gap 5th to 6th is increasing as well, as that's dictated now on the penalty board. My screen shows 5 drivers with a penalty on the board. The back 4, Soulflies, Red Tops, Dictator, and Tisu. Also, Johan has picked up a penalty somewhere along the line in the Haas in 7th place. So that is going to be really, really costly for him.
He's into the pits.
He's just into the pits. So, and he's got himself a 5 second speeding in the pit lane penalty as well. So that is going to really spell disaster for him.
Yeah, that's definitely not good for Johan at all. Another thing to note, you're talking about the ERS levels of the guys up front. It looks like and Dictator is retired from the session. I think he just retired in the pits. Not sure what was wrong with him, but he just didn't look like he was on pace. But interesting thing to note about the front runners is that you got Lenny, who had almost all of his battery. Norbert's been using a little bit to stay with him, but Failer hasn't had any battery troubles at all. So they're playing a little bit of mind games, you know. Lenny up front, still got plenty of battery to hold the lead. You know, Norbert using a little bit, saving a lot. Failer, wonder if he thinks that the guys in front are using battery, but curious to see what's going through their heads now on lap 8. You know, their top 5 have pulled away, and they have definitely got Fernandez, so I kind of feel bad. He's just in no man's land at this point. But the Brazilian still hanging on to a very strong P6 and might be able to get an undercut and get right back up in this fight. We'll have to wait and see what happens in the coming laps.
Yeah, Fernandez must feel like he's just time trialing at this point, because he's 2.5 clear of Maestro Half. Oh no, who's just gone off the road? Maestro Harvey has got that all wrong. Chapel went over the grass and obliterated the braking board. He's lost 3 positions. Patrick, Blue, and Deads all through on the Ferrari, as Norbert and Christy Sindel have gone into the pits, along with, I saw another couple flying into the pits as well. Blue, Deads, and Maestro Huffy have all come in. I'm going to keep an eye on the Ferrari to see if he needed a new front wing, because as I say, he went through a braking board. We'll see if he's picked up damage as a result of that. Lots of pit stops going on. Any new front wing for the Ferrari? No, he's absolutely fine. So he'll be coming out on the medium tyres. What's Deads do? Where's Deads? Where is he? No, he has come out. I mean, sorry, his tyres hadn't changed on my screen. I was thinking, what's going on? He's not going on to softs again, but no, he hasn't. Everybody's coming to the pits, as you would imagine, is out on the medium tyre. So Lenny continuing to lead the way. Failer has maintained DRS range. So even though he was in 3rd, he could have fallen out of DRS range to Lenny, but he's just upped the pace a little bit. He's now burnt up half his battery to do it as well. So he realised that he would have lost the DRS range and did exactly what he needed to do to maintain it. Very nicely done. Smart thinking there from the McLaren. So the lead medium shod starter is still Brownie. He's still got Kev Genetics right behind him, and Regaz as well. So that's a 3-way fight for 6th position still raging on. It's going to be interesting to see how their strategy plays out when they switch to the softs towards the tail end of the race. That's Lenny in. So race leader is now in. Jan is now going to take over the lead of the race, and the fastest up as well. So there you go. So he was pushing hard in that lap to try and keep that gap as low as he could. Fernandez and Patrick also coming as well. So the only people that haven't pit from the soft starters rather, is Jan Fader and Korsak. So they're pushing, well, I don't think 9 laps is that unreasonable on the soft tyres. So they're just pushing those soft tyres to the realistic end of their life. But let's see who's going to win out from the under or overcut.
Yeah, Norbert was 28.5 seconds when Lenny came into the pits. Lenny leaving the pits right now. Norbert Jacob on the left-hand side, and he is through. He has made the undercut work. He's got about a half second to the Renault behind. Very nice job. Lenny losing the rear end, though, a little bit out of those first 2 corners. Hopefully that does not cost him DRS, but Norbert definitely benefited from the DRS of the Red Bull, the ghosted Red Bull that was in front of him, but also a fantastic outlap. But now we'll see, now can Jan Failer and Korsak do the overcut on the Mercedes and Renault drivers. Also, I think Christian Sendel might have gotten held in the pits. He's 3 seconds behind Lenny. I thought Norbert would get held in the pits for a second there during the window, but I think Sendel did get held, and as a result, he has really kind of dropped off. But now, Jan Fehler and Korsak certainly into the pits now. Where will they come out? What's the gap behind? It's 27.6 seconds to Norbert, so I think the Mercedes might have our current race leader. But the question is, where will they come out?
Yeah, it's going to be close. I think it's going to be close for Jan Fehler and Korsak trundling down the pits, so that the other McLaren is going to take over the lead. Brownie will take that one over. He won't be doing the pits probably for another rough guess 5 or 6 laps, I'd have thought. But where is Jan Fehler going to come out next to Norbert and Lenny? So Norbert is coming through club now. Where is Jan? It's going to be close. It's going to be close. Who's going to win out? The Mercedes is ahead of the Renault. Jan is actually behind them. So he did not pay off for Jan. So Jan's back in third again, but Norbert is the one that's won out the most.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, we knew the undercut is pretty powerful around this track, but Jan now with 2 lap fresher, medium tires, excuse me, than Norbert, and he's still in DRS range, so this might work out for him later on in the race. Meanwhile, a little farther back, Christian Sendel and Korsak both a little farther back, but Johan in DRS range with them, so he made a mega undercut. He came in, lap 6. Now, granted, he does have, I believe, 8 seconds of time penalties, but he is caught up to Korsak and Christian as a result. So, see, we got some Brazilian fans in the chat. Fernandez, currently P12, coming out once again a little bit in no man's land, unfortunately for him. But, you know, he's got a lot of points paying. He's in a good points paying position so far once everyone in front pits. And Dad's the other Brazilian doing really well in the chat. Just please do not spam the chat too much with the Brazilian support, in that we love to see drivers get supported by fans.
Absolutely, indeed. So Red Tox and Sulfides are swapping around. The Racing Point now ahead of the Red Bull, heading into 4th position. Also, Patrick and Blue swap around for 13th place. The AlphaTauri now ahead of the Renault. But yeah, now what? Now, how is Lenny going to respond to this? Because he was leading the way in the first part of the session. So we'll see then if this continues to play out. Is Norbert going to be able to handle the pressure from the Renault, or is Lenny going to do what Jan was doing before and just stay there, looming in the background? They can't afford to do it too long, because again, they're going to be facing the medium runners that are going to be pitting very, very soon. We'll see how that plays out. Wow, Lenny is right on the back, and Titu has retired. He's been struggling all race long. That's not a surprise. A great shame. That is the end of his race. Yellow in sector 2. I'm assuming that's Tisu's parked car.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yeah. So, Lenny is absolutely nailed to the back of Norbert at the moment as they're working their way through Mackens and Beckett's. Lenny is actually close enough that being so close to the car ahead of him, going through Mackens and Beckett's like that's really going to hurt his tyres. So this could come back to Jan Fehler before the checkered flag falls. We will see as Krunex now gets his name on the penalty board.
Yeah, another thing to note, not only are his tires going to suffer a little bit, but his engine will get a little hotter. Around this track, there's not really too many, braking zones now with how fast these cars really are nowadays, as Blue picks up a time penalty. And his engine will start to overheat with how close he is, and that could be a problem for him. If he goes for a late overtake, it'll make him down on power. Krunex has retired from the session, down from P17. That's unfortunate to see one of the Ferraris have to retire. But I'm sure the guys up front now want some battling here. Curious to see. I know the McLaren drivers, they're usually working together. I'm curious to see if Brownie's asking Failure to kind of maybe attack the guys ahead, because that would kind of help out his teammate. But we'll have to wait and see. I know that plenty of strategy and team at work is used for some of these drivers. So have to wait and see now. Almost halfway, or about halfway through the race. Yep, lap 13 out of 26. So a lot of stuff still to play for. A couple drivers have retired. Christian Sendel did get around Korsak, and Johan has fallen off the back of them. But Johan's starting to fall into the clutches of Fernandez. So the Brazilian looking like he's going to finally get some action. Good to see him not in no man's land, but then, of course, he picks up a time penalty, so I'll just stop talking about it.
Just as you say it. That, ladies and gentlemen, is how the commentator curse works.
Whoopsies.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Cronex's car has actually come back out on track when it has now disappeared, so it won't affect our leaders at all yet. Fernandez doing as best as he can in 12th position. He is trying his best to close in on Johan. I think he has closed in a little bit over the last few laps, so we'll see if he's able to continue that charge and get into DRS range, if nothing else, and hopefully point him towards a points paying position before the end of the race. Now, it's up front, still all separated by very little. Brownie leading Kev Genetics, leading Regas. Regas just beginning now to fall out of DRS range to the pair ahead of him. I wouldn't be at all surprised if in the next few laps we see the medium starters come in. So that's our top 5. Brownie, Kev Genetics, Regas, Red Tox, and Soulflies. As they continue on towards Cops and towards Maggins and Beckett. Brownie's just kind of doing what he can and just keep hitting his marks. The real lead of the race, Norbert, Lenny, and Jan Feder. Wow, they're very close now. Jan Feder has really closed in on Lenny now. This is going to be a little bit awkward for the Renault. He needs, he's trying to keep an eye on what's going on up front, but he's got the that very bright papaya McLaren right in his wheel track, right in his wing mirrors rather. And oh dear, now Yaz lost some time going through Maggins and Beckett's. Now Lenny's signing up a move on Norbert, heading down towards Stowe. The Renault's gone for the outside line. Is he done it on the outside? Yes, he does. But can he maintain the momentum? Can Norbert try and come back underneath it? No. Lenny on the outside manoeuvre through Stowe has regained 6th position in the effective lead of the race.
Lenny with an absolutely fantastic move. Now, one thing to note while you're looking at Brownie up ahead, Lenny was absolutely glued to the back of Norbert on the Wellington straight. There was less than 2/10 between the two of them, but he didn't go for a move, didn't do anything, just bided his time, waited till he could get him on the hanger straight. Now, the question is, does Norbert Jacob have an answer? And Jan Fehler was looking really racy behind until he went a little wide through Chapel, so this is definitely a 3-horse battle for the win, but I'm still not counting out Brownie, Kev Jennings, and Raygas. They're still lapping very nicely up front, and the slightest mistake by anyone and more battling up front should definitely close them in, as their pit window probably will be open up in these next few laps. Now, lap 15 on 26, softs go about 10 laps. I think we'll see a little bit of an undercut for some of these drivers coming up in these next lap or two.
Yeah, absolutely. That's when I would expect to see the top 5 come in there or thereabouts. Also, a nice battle in 9th place between Christensen down and Corsair. They've been very close together. I think they've been arguing over that 9th place spot for a while now. Johan and Fernandez still pretty close. Oh, that's a move. Regas on Kev Genetics. Kev Genetics is in, so he's coming slightly earlier than I would have thought, but he will be going onto the soft tyres. Fair enough. He's had the best out of those mediums that he's going to get. Another battle for 13th position. Patrick, Blue, and Deads having a great squabble for 13th spot. Now, where is Kev Genetics going to reappear, I wonder?
That's a good question.
I think he's going to be right ahead of that, or right with that Patrick battle we've just been mentioning, what is now a battle for 12th. Yep, Kev Genetics comes out in 15th position. So he's going to be right in that mixture for 12th. That's right ahead of him. Whoops, as he gets a little bit squiggly coming out of Village, and with Maestro Hoffy right behind him in the medium shop Ferrari. So yeah, the soft runners still have a part. The medium starters will still have a part to play in this race, I would think.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, looking at where Kev Genetics come out, Brownie will probably come out about the same spot. He was only half a tenth behind when they came into the pits, so probably coming out a little far behind, but these softs will start flying on these guys once they get them working. So I expect to see them pick off a couple cars ahead, maybe even run down, top 6, top 7. I think our front 3 right now a little too far ahead now as Brownie and Regas into the pits. I expect to see Red Tox, yes, Red Tox and Soulflies into the pits as well. So that's everyone completing their mandatory pit stop. Lenny will retake the official lead of the race with Norbert Jacob and Jan Fehler in tow. I'm gonna have 10 laps to go, I believe. My math is a little off today. I had
correct. Yes.
did an endurance race yesterday with AOR, so brain's a little fried, which is definitely letting you pick up the pieces for me. That's for sure.
Yeah, I actually commented on my first oval race. I did Daytona and NASCAR trucks.
Ooh, that sounds like a lot of
And
fun.
it was a hell of a lot of fun. I absolutely loved it. So the top three then still attached to each other by absolutely nothing. Just 3/10 separating them as they work their way through Brooklands and Luffield. Then there's a bit of a gap, 4.2 seconds or so back to Christian Sindel, who still has Corsair for company. That battle for fourth continues to wage on. Johan in sixth. He's the one in a little bit of no man's land. He's 2.5 seconds behind Corsair and 1.3 ahead of Fernandez. Now, Fernandez has done his best to try and close that gap down, but hasn't been able to do so. Right behind, right behind Blue. Blue's got, I think he's got a lap runner around him somewhere. No, big buddy. That's Patrick and Dets directly around him. So it's that three-way battle for eighth now. Is continuing between Blue, Patrick, and Deds. Kev Jennings on his fresh tyres is right with them. And just as I've been talking about that, Corsair has banzaied it on the inside of Stowe to claim fourth position from Christian Sindel. But Kev Jennings and Deds have just swapped round as I was talking about them. But that's because Kev Jennings is on those brand new soft tyres and Brownie's following suit. So Brownie's lost the spot to Kev Jennings. And expect that fight to continue. See where they, well, unsurprising, Kev Jennings and one of the soft runners now claiming the fastest lap. I think you're absolutely right. I think they're going to be about 7th or 8th by the time the checkered flag falls. But we'll see, because they are going to be absolutely blindingly quick.
Oh yes, Brownie that previous lap actually tried to get around Kev Jennings through Brooklands and Luffield, but he was unable to do so as he tried to go around the outside of Luffield. So a very brave move by Brownie. Did not pay off. Now Kev Jennings up ahead doing a nice little swap with Patrick. We did see in Austria that the two of them do definitely work together as they were swapping to help each other out. So now we'll see if Patrick tries to hold up Brownie a little bit, but Brownie will probably make easy work of him as Kev Jennings now next has Blue on his checklist. But yeah, Fernandez a little farther up ahead, really struggling to keep his ERS. You see his red light flashing at the back. Didn't really get a chance to see. I don't believe Johan is that low on ERS, but Fernandez just needing a little bit of help there. Maybe a slight mistake from Johan so he can get into DRS range and battle. Oh, we got a battle for the lead. Norbert Jacob going up the inside of Lenny. Lenny's holding around the outside, though. Now they're going to come into the final chicane right now, and Norbert Jacob swoops around the outside and takes the lead of this race once again. The two of them battling it out all race long, swapping positions twice, and Norbert on lap 29 is your new race leader, leading once again this race.
Yeah, he's pulling the same move that was pulled on him only 3 laps ago as Kev Jennings continues to his charge through the field on those soft tyres, locking up then between Norbert and Lenny into Aintree, or through the loop and into Aintree. But yeah, it's a nice solid move. Norbert kept his head on the outside of Stowe and kept them going right the way through Vale and into Club to reclaim the lead, but now he's got to fend off the Renault. Jan Fader still lurking there. Now, the Renault has managed to maintain quite a lot of EOS energy there. It's about 75% at the moment. That could be the deciding factor as Jan's down to 40% and Norbert is 52%, so they may run out of energy at the wrong moment. We will see. But yeah, Stowe's always been one of those corners that really does invite overtaking opportunities. It doesn't have a braking zone before it, but it just, if you get Magus, Beckett, and Chappell wrong and you're chasing someone, that's where the speed differential comes in, and these cars have the downforce, as has been proven many times,
yes,
to throw it on the outside of Stowe and it just sticks. So it's a great opportunistic move. It's still rather clenching to do it, if I'm honest. If you're the one that's being overtaken or you're the one that's committed to the move, it's still very much hang on and hope. But Lenny and Norbert doing a great job in just providing a lot of entertainment. Jan Fehler, I wonder whether he's either struggling to keep up or he's biding his time. He seems to just lose a bit of distance between himself and the top two, even though his tyres are a lap fresher than Norbert and Lenny's are. I'm not entirely sure at the moment whether Jan is just struggling a little bit or he's just biding his time. That will become clear in the closing stages as we now hit lap 20 of 26. Still plenty of action to conclude.
Yes, Jan is, I think part of his issue is he's the third car in a 3-car DRS train. So you got the front two. He's not really able to do much unless the front two really battle it out because, you know, Norbert gets the best run because he doesn't have that dirty air. Then you look Lenny right now all on the rear bumper of Norbert. If he doesn't really try to pressure him, just kind of sticks behind him, there's not really much Failure will be able to do at this time. It just really sucks to be that third car in the train. But, you know, he's going to really have to really pick his move, and when it opens up, he needs to take it. Otherwise, he's kind of just going to be sitting there. As you can see, Lenny, look at 3 of them. What is that, like 4/10 between the 3 of them going through Stowe? So he's going to have to see if he can get a little closer prior to that, and then he might be able to pressure Lenny into making a move on Norbert when he doesn't want to. So he's got 6 laps to go to do it, though. It's going on to lap 21 now, a little farther behind. While we've been looking at the guys up front, Browning and Kev Jennings have cleared the train of By Blue and Patrick Deads. But they haven't really pulled away yet. They've kind of been dragging them along. They're 1.9 behind Fernandez, who's dropped a little bit off of Johan. So these guys, we do expect them to see them a little farther up, but then again, you do have the penalties of the drivers up ahead. So they basically will get the positions. Brownie, though, looking like he wants to make a move on Kev Jennings, though. Might get it coming down the Wellington Straight. Let's see what he does.
He's going to try. He needs to get a decent exit from the loop and from Aintree, which he does. He'll have DRS down on the Wellington Straight, and Kev Jennings has nothing. He knew that one was coming. He didn't try and defend unnecessarily. And through to 8th position goes the McLaren. Nice move. Yeah, Kev Jennings was wise to that one. He knew it was pointless trying to defend that. Oh, it's getting close up front again, but Lenny's biding his time. He's staying in the time tracks and just charging up his ERS. Let's see if he does it again. I noticed last time around, as Deads gets his name on the penalty board, now the Renault's got his DRS open, but his ERS deployment is still on 1, and he's backing off the revs. He's not trying to force the move. If anything, he might try and force Norbert into a mistake, as Jan is still having to use ERS energy to keep up with those two. So Jan may not be able to feature in a last-minute battle for the lead. We will see, unless the Renault and the Mercedes come together. But Lenny is really playing the clever game here. He's just doing exactly what he needs to do and no more to stay where he is. He's going to pounce in the closing few laps. It's risky because if you make that mistake, you have no time to correct it. Unless Norbert makes a mistake, and then he'll just capitalize on it anyway. But Lenny is in a brilliant position to really hustle for the lead before the checkered flag falls.
Yeah, it's funny. Before you mentioned earlier in the race how Lenny was locking up a lot. Well, now that Norbert's up front, we just saw him lock up twice in 2 corners. So maybe Lenny locking up a little bit there. Not too bad, though, like he was before. So maybe there's a little bit of a curse of P1, you know, locking up the tires a little bit. Maybe feeling that pressure a little bit. So I'll have to wait and see. I mean, Norbert's doing a good job up front, but Lenny's just right there. I think he's just waiting until the right moment when he has to go, or until Failure pushes him. And Failure looked like he's struggling a little bit. Might be running a little less downforce or something, not be able to keep with these guys through the corners. Meanwhile, towards the back, the Brownie has caught up to Fernandez. Might see a move on the Williams driver soon. Fernandez currently running in P7 on those 11-lap old mediums. Up front, Lenny once again very close. Failure right there again. Yeah, Failure's definitely running less downforce. He's got to be. He was close to half a second behind Lenny, and then gets right up on the rear bumper. So Failure might also be waiting for a move as Brownie gets the overtake done on Fernandez. He is up to P7 in that McLaren.
Yeah, nicely done. Fernandez has also got no ERS energy left either. So, and again, I think he realizes this the strategy difference means he's not going to be able to keep the McLaren and the AlphaTauri behind him. As it's another fastest lap from Brownie. 1:26.236 on the board. Lap 23, 4 to go. And still our top 3 very close together. Oh, is Jan going to try and make a move there? He's closing in. He's gone for one. Is he going to be able to go for the other one? Not quite. He's alongside coming through Brooklands. Now, I guarantee you Lenny did not count on that. But Lenny has been able to hold the long inside line going through Luffield. Oh, Jan, I don't know if that's going to really pay off for you, but that would have ruffled Lenny's feathers a little bit. And you can see he's dropped off of Norbert a tiny, tiny bit. I'm just a little surprised that Jan's gone for the move then. I'd have thought he'd have left it another lap, but again, he might be anticipating that Lenny is sizing up the move at the death of the race. So he's trying to get his name in there. There you go. Now Lenny has gone for the move this time. I think on the back of Jan trying his move. I'm not entirely certain Lenny planned to make the move quite now, because that's going to be 3 laps that Norbert is going to have to try and counter the Renault. I reckon that Lenny's made the move because Jan has just tried his hand.
Yeah, I think he definitely did. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm not convinced it's going to pay off for Jan, but we'll see. That was it's going to be a great scrap, primarily between Lenny and Norbert till the checkered flag now.
Now, one thing to note, when Jan went for the move, I was currently watching Lenny, and it looked like on his steering wheel, he had almost a completely full battery. So now let's see, now that he's up ahead, see if he'll use that battery to try to break away. I mean, we know Norbert and Jan have been struggling a little bit with battery life in comparison, but now that they're behind, they're getting DRS, they might be able to save just enough. But the question is, will Lenny be able to save enough of that battery that he had built up and be able to hold on to this lead? 2 laps and 2 sectors to go. So it's very entertaining. You can see he's definitely burning a lot. He's really trying to pull away. He's getting some really good runs out of the corners, but Norbert and Jan Fehler are able to just stick with them thanks to the DRS straights and using a little bit of their battery alone. Let's look again at the battery total. So Lenny's down to 67% now, Norbert at 30, Jan at 16. So Jan really struggling here in this closing stage of the race. He's got the straight line speed, but dipping your left-hand tires into the grass right there might slow you up just too much. But 2 laps and a change to go. It's looking really close. Norbert gets really close up to Lenny, but it's not looking like it at this moment. Another thing, though, while these guys were swapping positions, Christian Sendel got re-through on Korzak, and Kev Jennings just made a move on Fernandez down the back straight, so a little bit of a position update through the rest of the field. And Brownie within DRS range of Johan now, as Christian Sendel goes fastest overall. That's quite a shocker on the old medium tires, that's for sure.
Yeah, I was a little surprised by that, actually. I wasn't expecting that. 2 to go. Lenny leads Norbert, leads Jan Fehler as they work their way through the loop and Aintree once again. Now, Lenny's just going to have to rely basically on decent exits and just has to hope that he can dump the battery at the right time to keep himself in the lead. He's certainly got the ability to do it. Norbert has got the best opportunity to try and ruffle Lenny's feathers now. I reckon Jan is out of this maneuver unless one of the top 2 make a mistake, and they just haven't done all race long, so it seems very unlikely that they will now. The other McLaren of Brownie is really closing in on Johan now, so he looks set to try and challenge for that 6th position very, very soon. Kev Jennings not that far behind as he's cleared Fernandez now, so both McLarens are in decent points paying positions. That's top 3 still separated by not very much as Norbert closes in on a pure DRS. Oh, it's going to be a great straight fight to the line. We'll see. Oh, get a bit of a lockup from the top 2 certainly. Lenny's got all the pressure on his shoulders, but he's got that little bit of ERS to help him get to the checker flag first.
Yeah, a little bit of rocket boosters, it seems like, how he just came out of the corner and got like a 10th or 2 instantly like that. But that's the energy recovery system for you, folks. That's with 2 sectors to go, essentially, for our race leaders. About 2 main overtaking opportunities left for Norbert to make the move on Lenny, but it's not looking like to be close enough on the end of the Wellington Straight right now. His best chance now will be into Stowe, but Lenny looking like he's got this race under lock and key at this moment. A little farther back, though, in the battle for 6th position, Brownie within 4/10 of the Haas ahead. Johan completely out of battery. Brownie diving to the inside. The Haas leaves the space, and Brownie up to P6 makes the move on Johan. It looks like he's going to make it stick now on the exit of Luffield.
Top 3 still where they were, and Lenny has given himself 4/10 of a second coming into Maggots and Beckett's now. And Jan has no answer and no battery life either. It's now or never for Norbert, but he's got no battery either. So that's his opportunity. His best opportunity is gone. Lenny has done exactly, well, all of them have got their batteries now, but Lenny has done exactly what he needed to do to maintain the lead. Into Vale, into the penultimate corner. Your winner here in Silverstone is the Renault of Lenny. 2nd, Norbert. 3rd is Jan Fehler, all separated by 7/10 of a second near enough. Christian Sindel gets 4th, and I believe he held on to the fastest lap towards the end. Korzak is winner of 5th place. Brownie, great run there for 6th position. Johan gets an unserved penalty. Penalty. That's going to drop him down a little way. Kev Jennings 7, Patrick 8, Fernandez 9. By Blue rounds out the top 10. What a race we have seen.
Yeah, that was an absolutely fantastic race for the race lead there. Lenny making the right strategy call. I mean, granted, he came up behind Norbert, but it turned out it worked perfectly for him. He was just able to harvest the battery power and then made it work when it mattered. Definitely had to make the move a little earlier than he probably wanted. As Failure, Failure had to go for it. He was just stuck there and just had to make the move. But Lenny doing an absolute masterclass of a job to take the race victory here today at Silverstone. Norbert doing the best he could, but unfortunately not able to take the top spot of the podium away. But this top three definitely dominated today. I mean, Christian Stendhal got that fastest lap later on, but the top three just absolutely unstoppable for the most part. Great job for them. Another team to really look at that had a really good race outside of the top three teams, Renault, Mercedes, McLaren. AlphaTauri is picking up 7th and 8th. Kev Jenix doing the reverse strategy very nicely, and Patrick coming home with a very respectable P8. So some good points from the AlphaTauri crew. I'm sure they will be very happy with that result.
Yep, absolutely. And Christian Sindel did indeed hang on to that fastest lap on one medium tyres as well. So fair play to him for capitalising on that. But yeah, what a great race we've seen. Lots of strategy calls being played out. Some great team play, particularly between the AlphaTauri pair. And yeah, some wonderful battling throughout the field. What more can you ask for a Sunday night?
No, I don't think there's anything more you can really ask. I mean, that was phenomenal stuff. Lots of overtaking, lots of drama, and in the end, the Frenchman, Lenny, on top, winning here at Silverstone. He's won 2 out of 3 races, and he's got a top 2 in all 3 of the races, so great job by him. Norbert, the reserve driver, coming home in 2nd here today, and Jan Failey rounding out the podium. Who would you think is your driver of the day, might I ask?
Well, that's a tricky one because there was some great performances throughout the field. I mean, it's very easy to pick one of the top 3, but based on previous performances, you rather expect them to be in the position they're in. I was quite enjoying seeing the likes of Brownie and Kev Jenix and their great battling through the field. I'm inclined to give it to Brownie indeed. The game actually awarded the driver of the day to Kev Jenix, and not knocking that decision, but I think Brownie just had a few more positions and a few great moves on those soft tyres in amongst the field. I'd inclined to go that way.
I sort of agree with that, but I'm going to agree with the game for once. I never do. I'm going to go with Kev Jenix as well. Mainly because, I mean, you look at it, he started in 17th position. He was able to gain 10 positions. But then I think he realized at one point that he knows Brownie is definitely the faster driver out of the pair. And he just used Brownie to pull him along. You saw him throughout that first stint on those medium tires. He did not lose DRS at all. Just let himself be dragged along. And then when it came time for Brownie to repass him when he got the undercut, I think he realized, yep, no point in fighting it. Just let him go. And then there you have it, and coming out in 7th after starting 17th. Great job, but definitely doesn't knock Brownie's performance. I mean, he did a fantastic job coming from P11 on the grid, making the reverse strategy work. But unfortunately for the two of them, wasn't really enough battling towards the front to make the reverse strategy work. But still, fantastic job by everyone who raced today. Unfortunate we had 3 DNFs in the grid, but still 16 finishers, quite very, very good race, and I'm sure everyone would be happy to see how that resulted. We'll have to wait and see if we get any drivers here for a post-race interview. And we'll have to wait and see if anyone wants to come in. But for the time being, we'll kind of just hang out and wait. Next race is at Hungary, I believe. So we do have 2 drivers coming in for interviews of Jan Failure and Norbert Jacob. We'll go ahead and bring in Failure here first because I think his name briefly appeared prior. So we'll go ahead and bring him on in, and then we'll go ahead and bring the other podium center of Norbert. Hello there, Jan. How are you doing today?
Hi. Doing good, I think.
What are your thoughts on how that whole race went? I mean, you were kind of stuck in 3rd in the DRS train. Was it feel frustrating to be back there, or did you feel like you were giving your all and not much you could do? Talk us through it.
It was super frustrating because, yeah, there's literally nothing you can do. I tried, after the pit stops, obviously tried the overcut, and at least had the freshest tires in the end of the top 3, so that was fine. Could manage to stay in the DRS after that. Recharged the battery, but I mean, my battery was basically full 15 laps before the end. 15, maybe 10, I don't know. So I thought, okay, so what are we doing now? You know, this is not going particularly quick. Christian behind is closing in slowly. So yeah, we have to play some moves. So I tried to attack at certain points, but every time I deployed my ERS, the guy ahead also noticed that. Maybe deployed a little bit of his. So I thought again, but the only option was to let them fight, and maybe something happens between them, and I can sneak through, get in P2, and once I'm in P2, I can play the role that Norbert and Danny played. But it didn't really work out. Then I went for a move like 5 laps before the end, I think, on Lenny, which he defended well, and then my battery was empty. So, and then I was sitting there in P3 again, without anything I could have done anyway. And yeah, it's quite frustrating to just sit there not being able to do anything.
Yeah, I definitely can believe it. It's being the third car in that little bit of a train definitely must stink. Kodiak, you got any questions you'd like to bring here for Jan?
Guten Abend, mein Freund.
Guten Abend. It's good to hear you.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've been in this commentary box, and I will say, for the benefit of the stream, it's this man's fault. It was Misty Ann behind the scenes that had the conversation with me to bring me in. Where were you eyeing up before tonight's race? Was top 3? Was it the win? Where were you pinning your hopes on finishing tonight?
100% on the win, because I know my pace in Silverstone is quite strong compared to other tracks, especially in the race. And I noticed that as well today. It's a shame I couldn't put the quali lap together that I wanted to, so it was only P3, so to say. And yeah, but in the end, being in P3 from the beginning cost me the race win, maybe. I mean, we don't know what would have happened. It would still have been a mighty close battle. It would have just been like different positions between us. But obviously my chances would have been a lot higher from P1 or P2 in qualifying to win today, because as we saw from P3, there was nothing to do. So yeah, podium is fine and all, and it's not bad, of course, but I wanted to win this because I thought I had the pace too.
Fair play. Thomas Rennen, mein Freund.
Tankers, yeah.
For those who don't know what I said good race.
Yes, indeed. They did it very well.
Dankeschön.
I was gonna say I have no idea, so that just filled me in on what that was saying, because I am definitely not good with linguistics at all when it comes to that stuff. That's for sure.
Oh, that's fine. I hope you guys enjoyed it today.
I certainly did.
I know I definitely did, and it was a pleasure to have Kodiak here, so I have to say thank you for getting him to come on board for this race. Speaking of races and such, how do you feel about next week with Hungary coming up? Do you think do you have better chances there? Do you not so much, or walk us through it? Or what do you think about that track?
Hungary, I think if we have the race from today next week again, then I'd be a lot more happy than this week, because Hungary is not too strong for me usually, so if it's podium again, then I'll be a happy Jan. Today, I'm not a happy Jan.
Yeah, so that's hopefully we get another happy Jan next week. I mean, still a podium is still pretty happy. Yeah, it's unfortunate that you kind of got stuck there, but I mean, you're still, where were you, about 3.6 seconds ahead of Christian Sendel in the end, so you were still kept with the race leaders. And yeah, it's unfortunate you weren't on the top step, but you still were on the podium and had a great result nonetheless. So I guess you can just keep the momentum going. It should work out pretty nicely for you next week, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I would certainly agree. Thanks.
Yeah, so it's always a pleasure to have you here, and we do look forward to seeing you on track next week.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for doing the commentary again, as always.
You're welcome, and again, thank you for bringing Kodiak here one last time.
Not one last time. It was one more time.
Well,
we'll see what the future holds, of course.
Yes. Well, one last time as like me saying thank you one last time, but yes,
okay.
one more time, that's for sure. So not to
cool.
any confusion. So thank you very much, and we'll see you once again next week. Take care.
Dankeschön and gute Nacht.
Danke for coming here, King Kodiak.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Yeah.
All right, so that was the voice of Jan Fehler. Next up on our list, it will be Norbert Jacob. He came in as a reserve driver. I still believe he is technically listed as a reserve driver, but he is currently, he raced in the Mercedes today, And it was definitely good to see him back on track. He was actually, him and Jan, I don't know if you got to see Kodiak, but him and Jan last season had a fantastic scrap at Brazil. And so definitely good to see him back on board. And, hopefully we'll see more battles from them. But let's go ahead and bring him back on in here. Hello, Norbert. How you doing after that race?
Yeah, first of all, good evening. I'm pretty tired.
Oof.
It was a very tough battle between Jan and Lenny. So yeah, I'm very tired.
That's good. So during that race, I mean, as tired or not, do you think? Well, yeah, might as well hit on that topic. Do you feel like the fact that you're a little tired as a result? Do you think that was contributing factor to the race? Because I mean, you looked like you were. You looked fantastic out on track, but at the same time, you were 6/10 away from the win. Talk us through how that race kind of went for you on track in your head and whatnot.
First of all, my quali was better than I expected it because Silverstone is my weakest track in the calendar, so I expected P5 or P6 in the quali, so I was kind of surprised with that P2. And for the race, my strategy was to stay behind Lenny and use his DRS to defend from the car behind. And so yeah, this was my strategy. And at the start, Jan almost overtook me, and I had to use a lot of energy throughout the race. Maybe I had the lowest energy percentage of Lenny, me, and Jan. So yeah, I tried to undercut Lenny, which worked well, but I knew he was way faster than me, so he overtook me in 3 or 4 laps, and I saw no point of defending against him because I want to use the DRS I got from him to defend against Jan. And I didn't feel my pace. And Lenny, in the beginning of the race, Lenny was lagging for me all around, so I had to drive very conscious. And so yeah, and I'm with this P2, I'm very satisfied and surprised at the same time.
That's good. Kodiak, do you got any questions you'd like to ask Norbert here?
It rather summed up everything I was going to ask already. So no, that's. I mean, it was a great effort. I mean, to lead the race with a really great overtaking move on a track you're not weak at must feel pretty special.
Yeah, it was very good for me, and yeah, this gave me a self-confidence which I could use in the remainder of the race to keep my position.
That's good to hear. Now, next week it's your home circuit. Will we be seeing you out on track? And what do you think about that? About that track in general?
Well, I don't really like that track, and also I will be very busy next week, so I can't participate in my home race.
That's a shame.
Yeah, it is a shame, but definitely, I know I don't like my home track of Coda, so I do feel that little bit of a logic there in the fact that sometimes your home track isn't the best. But it's definitely unfortunate we won't see you next week here on track, but we hope to see you more again in the future because you brought us some more exciting action. I mean, you've brought us plenty in the past, and it's definitely always happy to see you out on track whenever you're able to make it and there's a spot open. We're always glad to have you here.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Yep. So thank you very much, and we hope to see you, in the coming weeks. Maybe not next week, but hopefully see you again in the coming weeks because the battle between you, Lenny, and Jan was pretty fantastic today, and we look forward to when it happens once again. So thank you very much, and we hope you have a wonderful evening. I mean, that was a very good P2, and you got to be happy about that.
Yeah, thanks. You too.
Yep. Take care.
Bye.
All right, Kodiak, do you have any closing remarks you'd like to say now that I guess your race back is is coming to a close. Got anything you would like to say to the fans and the viewers out in the crowd?
I hope everybody enjoyed it as much as we did. It was great to be back in the box once again. I still commentate. I just commentate in other areas these days. But yeah, that was great fun. Thoroughly enjoyed that, and hope the crowd did as well.
Yep, I hope they did too. Thank you everyone for watching, and we hope you guys enjoyed this presentation of Apex Online Racing Hype Energy Formula One League PC F1. We hope you guys tune in next week at the same time, 8 p.m. UK, for the Hungarian Grand Prix. We've heard some mixed thoughts on how the drivers think of it, but hopefully it will provide us plenty of action. Thank you everyone for watching. We hope you guys enjoy the rest of your evening and have a wonderful night.